Okay. Uh, this will be the last class of the course. I think we have finished in within 2.5 weeks or something. Okay, that's fine. At a stretch, we have finished it. This class will be a short class. This is mainly concerned with the management of godown, how a godown should be managed. So it's nothing but including all the management practices which we have studied till date. Last 3 4 classes we have discussed about integrated pest management, fumigants, the different fumigation techniques, etc. So all those things we will combine together in a point wise manner, and we'll present it today, we'll discuss it today. So that's pertaining to godowns mainly, because in India still a huge proportion of grains are still stored in godowns, not in silos and all. So that's why godown management is still a part of storage entomology. I'll be sharing my presentation. Okay, so step by step, we will see how we will go for a management of a godown. The first and foremost thing is the selection of proper storage structure, as we had discussed with respect to the storage structures when we had discussed about storage of grains. Each storage structure should be made of locally available cheap materials. That's why we have seen in every locality, depending upon the area, in every state of our country, we have different kind of materials available for construction of godowns. So some maybe stone slabs, some maybe masonry work. So whatever it may be, it should be cheap, made of locally available materials, and the maintenance cost also should be low. So this is the first thing with respect to storage structure. The second and the most important parameter with respect to selection of a site and the construction is the godown should not be constructed at any place where there is a chance of water stagnation, because moisture is a thing which uh, affects the grain storage to great extent. So avoid areas with water stagnation. There should not be any seepage on walls and floors, because heavy rainfall areas, just like we have experienced last 3 days continuous rainfall. Now you can see in certain part of the buildings, we can see in your home itself, certain part we can see some seepage of water and all. So that should not be permitted. Seepage of moisture means damage to grains. So that is one of the most prominent factor which we have to take care of. And though we discussed earlier that whatever be the storage structure, it should be airtight. In India, the godowns, it's not airtight. We are constructing godowns where ventilation or aeration is the one of the most critical factor. Otherwise, we should have gone for sites where we have facilities for automatic aeration and all. So that thing we don't have in our godown. So we should provide windows, ventilations, etc. If we have an opportunity to visit an FCA godown, there you can see at the base of the just near the floor of the building also they have small ventilations. So as you all know, hot air will be moving up. And just a minute. So if this is the wall and this is the base of the godown, here just above the base we will have a small ventilation. Unlike what we see in our homes, in our home, in our college, etc., ventilation will be near the roof, isn't it? Why? What is the reason why here we will have ventilations at both top of the wall as well as bottom of the wall, near base of the floor also. So what may be the reason providing uh, two kinds of ventilation? Just a minute. സാറേ ഞാൻ ക്ലാസ്സിലാണ്, ഞാൻ അങ്ങ് വിളിക്കാം. Yes, unlike in our home where we were, or in your hostel or in your classrooms, you might have seen the ventilations are usually provided at the top of the wall, not at the bottom of the wall. Here, this ventilation is provided at top as well as bottom of the wall. Yes, air circulation. It provides aeration because, as you all know, hot air moves up. That's why we construct ventilation near the roof of the building, so that whatever the hot air accumulated near the roof, it will get removed through the ventilation. So in order to provide a constant air circulation, the godowns, they provide with ventilation at the base, near the base of the wall, so that from the base, the ventilation provided at the base, cold air will be sucked in and hot air will be moving through the ventilation at the top. So there will be an aeration, continuous aeration. So that is one thing that is usually done in godowns. So ventilations and windows should be provided, but whatever be the windows and ventilations, it should be fitted with wire mesh, so that rodents and all doesn't get injury into it. Then wherever before storing any grain, inspect the godown thoroughly and seal all the cracks and crevices, because they harbor insects, that we have discussed it. If you are reusing the gunny bags is the major mode of storage of grains in our country. If you are reusing the gunny bags, disinfect the gunny bag by dipping it in malathion 1:500 ratio. That means for 1 liter malathion, 500 liters water, and dip the bags for 2 hours in that solution, and then dry it thoroughly and then use it for storing of grains. So this is only when we are going for reusing the bags. If you are going for fresh bags, no need of disinfecting with malathion. Next, discussed it several times, we are not permitted to mix insecticides with grain, only with seeds we can go for it. And whenever we are placing the bags, we are keeping the bags in the godown, provide dunnage. You know what is a dunnage. And whenever we are stacking it, it should be proper at a spacing from the walls and between different stacks. So we should leave a gap of 60 to 70 centimeter from the walls as well as from the neighboring stack. So it will provide aeration and it will help us to have a thorough inspection of each stack that we had discussed earlier. Then provide alleyways, pathways. So whenever we are stacking it, there should be pathways earmarked for inspection and ventilation of the grain. That's why whenever we are placing bags, we are advised to leave a space of 50 or 60 centimeter between each stack. So this will act as an alleyway for inspection as well as ventilation, and carry out inspection every fortnight. FCA, they have a clear-cut protocol for inspection of grain. So each and every staff are assigned a particular task on a particular day. They have to inspect the grain and report the quality of the grain. They have an online management system. And another important thing which we have to avoid is, if there is any spillage on the alleyway or the pathway, that spillage has to be avoided, because spillage of grains, spilled grains, is one typical source of insect infestation. So that is one thing we have to be careful, especially if there is, the usual problems occurs with the use of hooks by laborers. Though everywhere we see in banks that use no hooks, because laborers, unloading and loading workers usually use hooks for loading and unloading of the bags. That that creates holes on the bags, lead to spillage of grains. So that is one thing. Another is rodents. Both will create holes on the bags and lead to spillage of grains, and those spilled grains should be removed, and those bags which have any holes should be repaired immediately. So that is one thing we have to keep in mind. And whatever the grains which are stored, that grain should be properly inspected and should be devoid of weed seeds, broken grains, frost, stone paste, etc. Any inert material, any unwanted material, we have to screen it thoroughly and remove it. And inspect the grains thoroughly before carrying out spraying on the backs and whether there is an insect infestation or not. Not in the grains, but on the backs. Then go for a prophylactic spray. That is, before storing the grains, we have to store the godowns and we can spray on the bags, especially if we have already stored, stacked the. We have before stacking a new fresh lot of grain, spray the godowns on the walls, floors, etc., as well as on the stored bags. We can spray. We have seen two insecticides, malathion and deltamethrin. Earlier, I have not given the dosage of it. Now I am giving the dose of it. At that time, I told I will give it later. Malathion, it is recommended at the rate of 150 milligram active ingredient per meter square, and deltamethrin is recommended at the rate of 30 milligram active ingredient per meter square. Malathion, 150 milligram active ingredient per meter square, and deltamethrin 30 milligram active ingredient per meter square. So if you take up the formulation, it will come to malathion, it is 10 ml per liter, and deltamethrin is 1.25 gram per liter. So that is the quantity which we need. And as you all know, it is recommended in the rate of gram active ingredient per meter square. Usually for spraying of rice, vegetables, etc., we calculate spray volume, it is 500 liters per hectare, etc. So here, instead of unit area, acre, hectare, etc., we are representing in square meter area. So for a square meter of area, we need 20 ml of water. So that is how we need to calculate the quantity of water required and quantity of the chemical which needs to be added to that particular volume of water. So if you have 100 square meter of area, we need to take 2000 ml. That is 2 liters of water. And then take, if it is malathion, it will be 20 ml. And if it is deltamethrin, we should take 2.5 gram. So that's how, depending upon the square meter. If when we are calculating the square meter, don't calculate the area of floor alone. We have to calculate the area of floor walls also, because we are spraying on the walls, as well as the peripheral surface area of the packs. So that we have to take into, not just calculate the square meter of calculate the square meter area of the building and then spray. No, we have to calculate the area of the wall, floor, as well as the packs. Then we can go for fumigation. If there is any infestation, go for fumigation. In gordons, we can't go for space fumigation. We have to go for fumigation on the sheet or cover. That's one thing we have to keep in mind. That is the dose and all you all know. For aluminum phosphate 3 gram tablet, the dose is 3 tablets per ton. And for space fumigation, even if we are going for a space fumigation, it is 150 tablets per 100 cubic meter. Then for rodent management, the plinth should be raised above 1 meter, that we have discussed earlier. Wire mesh should be provided on windows and ventilators, and doors should be rat proof. Then next, storage hygiene. Whatever area around the godown should be weed free. There should not be any overhanging branches of trees, etc. The area should be weed free. And for bag storage, we have to keep in mind that each commodity should be stacked separately. So if the godown is storing rice, wheat, millets, etc., rice should be in one stack, wheat should be in another stack. Each and every commodity should be stacked separately. And one more thing usually FCA people do is, different loads of each commodity will be stacked separately. They usually doesn't mix different loads. So if they receive one wagon of grain today, they will stack it. If tomorrow they receive another batch, they stack it separately. They don't mix it. They don't stack it together. So even if we had to separate different commodities and different batches of a commodity also into separate stacks, and wherever any damaged bags is detected, it should be repaired and replaced immediately, that we have discussed. And label each stack That is usually done. Each and every stack will be labeled. It will be labeled properly. And do not store pesticides and fertilizers in the godown. That should be stored separately in order to avoid any accidental poisoning and all. So this is with respect to godown management. It's extremely short class, concising all what we have learned uh, in the previous classes. If you need any uh, clarification or any doubt with respect to this course, I will announce a few quizzes just like we conducted last week, 2 or 3 quizzes just like that for 10 marks each, 10 questions each, objective type. You can attempt it. So, hope you followed it. Anyone? I don't think this is a tough course. Is it a tough course? Compared to other courses, it will be an easy course. Is it tough? Do you feel this course is a tough course? No. Don't be. You can learn it leisurely. Only thing if you understand it, the basics, no problem. Anything else you want to discuss? If you want to discuss anything, you have all of you have your my number and as well as email ID. You can contact it. Once you return, we'll have quickly have a few practicals. Okay. Okay then. Thank you for cooperating. So in a stretch, I could finish off the topics. So at least during this time, I could finish it off pretty easily. Okay, fine. Thank you. Or I will upload all the PPT and recordings